On December 30th, 2020, one of the most infamous criminal cases in Japan's history has turned 20. A senseless murder of a family of 4 in Tokyo's neighborhood of Setagai has caught both the Japanese and international public's attention, with countless amount of articles and podcast episodes dedicated to this tragedy. However, over time and due to the language barrier, many details became confused, and some were even corrupted. But the most interesting part is that, in this story, no one has yet found the killer or the reason for their murder, and the public is still coming up with various theories about it. If some theories sound absurd, others are closer to reality. So watch the video until the end, because in this story you'll have many questions, and even the Japanese police still can't find answers to some of them. At times you might be amazed by the killer's genius, and in some moments you'll experience strange feelings from this story. Now, let's begin. In the Miyazaki family there are 4 people: Miyazaki Mikio, who is 44 years old and the father of the family; his wife Yasuko, who is 41 years old, and their daughter and son named Nina and Rei. Nina is 8 years old, and Rei is 6. In 1991, they all moved to Kamasashigaya Street. This place was densely populated with residential buildings, and there were over 200 homes in the neighborhood. The family lived in a cramped space, and behind their house was a small park where little children played. This park was commonly known as the Choo-Choo Train Park. Later, the mayor of Tokyo had plans for this street. According to the plan, they were supposed to expand the nearby Sashigaya Park. Because of this, all the neighbors of the Setagai family started moving to different parts of the city, and by the year 2000 there were only 4 houses left on this street. One of the houses belonged to Yasuko's older sister named Anne. However, because Anne's husband worked for a major Formula One automotive company, they were always abroad with their family. Especially until 2000, Anne and her son lived in England. In their house only Yasuko's mother and Anne remained, in other words Rei and Nina's grandmother. In this nearly empty house, Yasuko focused on teaching the children. Thanks to this, she didn't have to walk for a long time and cover a great distance, and in principle, it could be seen as a 2-apartment house. For Mikio, the proximity between the houses made him feel awkward. He thought it could lead to family conflicts, so they decided to soundproof it. But they never made the decision to move and stayed in this house until the night of December 30th, because that day was their last, and their peaceful life came to an end. On the night of December 30th, an unknown killer enters the Miyazawa's house through the bathroom window on the 2nd floor. The killer's first target was the bedroom near the bathroom, where little Rei was sleeping. As time passes, the killer becomes less confident in their actions. Therefore, initially he strangles the younger one. By the way, Rei is the only victim strangled, as the next victim of the killer was Rei's father, Mikio. At that time, Mikio was working on the 1st floor, and when he was about to go up to the 2nd floor due to the noise, the killer stabbed him several times in the buttocks and thighs with a knife, as well as in the arm, chest, and face. After that, Mikio died due to significant blood loss, and his body was found near the staircase. Then the killer went back to the 2nd floor and headed to the attic, where Yasuko and Nina, the mother and daughter, were sleeping. Access to the attic was only possible via a folding ladder next to the bathroom. After reaching the attic and seeing that Yasuko and Nina were asleep, the killer decided to strike with a half-broken sashimi knife to their faces and necks. Just in case, sashimi is an ancient Japanese dish served on special occasions. It's prepared using a traditional long and thin Japanese knife with a single bevel. It's unclear where the killer could have obtained it, but after striking Yasuko, the knife suddenly broke, giving Yasuko and Nina a chance to escape. Bleeding, she took Nina in her arms and carried her down the stairs. However, the criminal, noticing Yasuko, delivered the final blow with a kitchen knife, presumably taken from the Miyazawa's home. And Nina died last. She was also killed by being stabbed in the back, which resulted in a spinal cord injury. During the investigation, it was discovered that she was missing her 1st and 3rd teeth, suggesting that she was not only stabbed but also beaten. After murdering the family, the killer went to the kitchen. There he took several cups of yogurt from the fridge and ate it without using a spoon. For a beverage, he chose barley tea, ignoring the cola and beer left in the refrigerator. He also found a band-aid in the kitchen and attempted to patch up the wounds on his right hand. At some point, the killer went through the family documents stored on the 1st floor. He pulled out all the drawers and brought one of them to the bathroom on the 2nd floor, where he emptied its contents into the bath. He also took Yasuko's personal belongings, Mikio's wallet, house keys, and some documents, and threw them into the toilet, where he had previously taken care of his business. Other items such as a bloodstained towel used by the criminal and an empty ice cream cup were also thrown in there. At 1 a.m. the criminal was still in the Miyazawa's house. At 1:18 he connected to the internet using Mikio's computer. In just 5 minutes of use, he created a new folder and accessed a website that Mikio had bookmarked. After that, he simply disappeared, and his subsequent whereabouts remain unknown. For many years, the public believed that the criminal had escaped from the house in the morning, not at 1 a.m., because it turned out that at 10 a.m. Mikio's computer was connected to the internet. It was only in 2014 that the police discovered that the second connection was likely an incident. The computer mouse found by the police had fallen under the table and connected to a website of a company owned by Mikio, which was set as Mikio's homepage. The Japanese police conducted an experiment using the same type of Macintosh computer that the Miyazawa family had. They concluded that the most likely scenario was as follows. Yasuko's mother arrived at her daughter's house after 10 a.m. to check on them, and accidentally knocked the mouse when she found the body, therefore connected to the internet. After that, one of the Miyazawa family's relatives called the police at 10:56. This suggests that if the killer had indeed gained access to the internet, he would have had very little time to escape. As a result, it's likely that the criminal fled between approximately 1:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. Another troubling suspicion is his point of entry into the house. Did he really use the small bathroom window? Moreover, investigators are convinced that it's impossible to crawl through that window without sustaining injuries or tearing one's clothing. When they found the killer's discarded clothing, everything seemed strange. There were no signs of wear or tear on his jacket and waist bag, and there were no traces of fabric or fibers on the window. But let's suppose that the police were mistaken about the point of entry, and the killer indeed didn't enter through there. In that case, the only option for the killer is the main entrance. The problem is this door was locked. For this version to be plausible, the killer would have to be familiar to the family, someone they would let in even late in the evening. Supporters of this theory pointed out that the bloodstains left behind went only in an upward direction, starting from the middle of the staircase on the first floor. If the perpetrator was not an intruder, but genuinely invited, he should have removed his shoes at the entrance. The presence of bloodstains could be explained by the blood making the stairs slippery, which prompted the person to put his shoes back on. In any case, the killer somehow made use of the window. This is because the police noted that the bathroom window was open, the mosquito net had been removed, and it was found lying outside. Furthermore, traces similar in size to the killer's were discovered beneath the window. Branches of trees near the park fence were also broken, presumably by the family's assailant. Due to the perplexing nature of the case and its unsolved status, numerous police officers were involved in the investigation. To this day, 280,000 of them have attempted to help solve the case. Initially, investigators tried to identify the culprit by his blood type, as the criminal left fingerprints, footprints, and even a bloodstained towel. However, their hopes were quickly dashed. More than 5 million people had their fingerprints checked. The police also attempted DNA analysis, conducting 1,300,000 tests. None of them matched the perpetrator. By 2005, investigators had uncovered some crucial information. They found that the perpetrator had South European ancestry through his maternal line. They concluded that either his mother or one of his grandparents hailed from a country near the Adriatic Sea. On the other hand, the perpetrator's father had East Asian roots, so he could be Japanese, Korean, or even Chinese. The Japanese police sought assistance from South Korea to help identify the perpetrator, but South Korea declined to cooperate. Given the physical strength he must have had to climb the fence, he was likely between 15 and 35 years old, and his height was around 170 centimeters. Hair remnants found in his waist bag indicated that he likely had dark brown or black short hair. By the way, this information was revealed thanks to the items the killer left inside the house. The killer left many things, and everyone was interested in his waist bag, where they found some sand, most likely from the southwestern United States, which left investigators puzzled. Because the bag was worn and produced in Korea, but was sold in Japan, presumably from September 1995 to January 1999. Furthermore, the culprit left behind his scarf, shoes, a sweatshirt, as well as a variety of clothing items that were manufactured in approximately Japan, South Korea, and France. The police had a lot of evidence, but no witnesses. They had only 2 potential observations. The first came from a woman who claimed to have been near the crime scene behind the wheel of her car sometime after 11:30. Suddenly, she noticed a man who ran out of the Miyazawa house area and jumped in front of her car. The other observation occurred on the day after the murder. In Nikko, at the Tabu Nikko station, about a 2-3 hour drive from Setagai, a man with a wound on his arm was spotted. The station staff provided him with assistance. His wound was so deep that the bone was visible. Once again, the police did not find this information helpful because it didn't match their profile of the suspect. So, the whereabouts of the perpetrator remain unknown. Alright, let's assume the killer is indeed from South Korea. But even if he were identified, it's uncertain if the police would find his motive for such a murder. The police have only 3 probable motives: money, resentment, or an unknown one. The money theory isn't very likely because the suspect stole only 150,000 yen, which is roughly $1,500 from the Miyazawa's house. Many doubt that anyone would kill an entire family for such a paltry sum. This theory has several flaws. Firstly, the perpetrator, who didn't appear to be in a hurry, didn't take all the money. He left about 190,000 yen in foreign currency totaling 5,000 yen behind. The method of murder was also highly excessive. If this was a random killing, why would he go on to kill Yasuko and Mina, who were sleeping in the attic and were not as brutal in their attacks? This leads us to the second motive, resentment. Here the severity of the attacks comes into play. In addition to the strangulation of Rei, the other family members met a brutal death. This makes the theory even more plausible. However, some people doubt this theory. Some investigators suspect that the criminal left items, bloodstains, and many other things like hair not by chance, but to confuse the police. The peculiar nature of this murder raises many questions, and it's possible that the killer had other motives. Rumors suggest that there are many theories people have come up with, but some believe that the criminal might have been mentally ill, and the robbery didn't go according to plan. But what about you? What motives do you think the criminal had? Write your theory in the comments, and I'll read them with pleasure. That's it for me. If you enjoyed my video, subscribe to the Paradox channel to watch many more crime stories and unsolved cases. Goodbye, everyone.